I'm Elaine Reyes at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is a special edition of UN Insider.
Coming up.
The state of our world is unsustainable. We can't go on like this.
Designing a roadmap for the UN of the future. Leaders gather in New York with a packed agenda and a mandate for change. China's foreign minister brings a message of cooperation and inclusion as he prepares to address the world.
Extreme weather events are not only killing people, they're destroying years of development. We need to act faster.
And plans to confront the most pressing issues, from climate change to conflict. An update from the 79th UN General Assembly's High-Level Week. Next.
Heads of state, diplomats, activists, and well-known public figures from around the globe are here in New York for High-Level Week of the 79th UN General Assembly. It is a time when the world comes together to confront the biggest issues and set an agenda to find solutions. Here, all 193 UN member states have an opportunity to make their voices heard during the general debate session. This year's theme, leaving no one behind.
Let's move our world towards less impunity and more accountability, less inequality and more justice, less uncertainty and more opportunity. The people of the world are looking to us, and succeeding generations will look back on us. Let them find us on the side of the United Nations Charter, on the side of our shared values and principles, and on the right side of history.
The Secretary General called for an end to conflicts in the Middle East, Ukraine, Sudan, and other hotspots around the globe. He also urged member states to take decisive action to address climate change and the other sustainable development goals, 80% of which are currently off track.
The Summit of the Future is a call to action. We must shape our future to protect ourselves and our planet Earth.
This year, the UN re-examined the organization and how it operates during the Summit of the Future. The goal, building a UN that is better equipped to deal with the issues of today and tomorrow. Jody Jacobs has the highlights.
As the multi-day summit for the future comes to a close here in New York, it would seem many diplomats have a spring in their step following 2 years of intense negotiations. On Sunday, world leaders adopted what's been described as a landmark agreement, a major change, according to the UN Secretary General, towards more effective, inclusive, networked multilateralism. At the UN General Assembly on Monday, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told world leaders that China is committed to playing a constructive role in the development and reform of global governance.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has put forward the vision of building a community with a shared future for mankind, advocated high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, and proposed the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative. These visions and initiatives have provided new solutions for tackling the common challenges of humanity and drawn a new blueprint for building a better world.
Wang Yi added that China remains committed to harnessing the power of science, technology and innovation for the benefit of all humanity.
New opportunities and challenges have emerged for human society and global governance. We need to keep abreast with the times, push back the frontier and explore new practices and make global governance more just and equitable. China supports the UN in serving as the main channel in AI governance, and we will propose the AI Capacity Building Action Plan for good and for all.
I thank the Special Representative.
More than 100 heads of state and government spoke during Monday's event, with the United Nations lauding multilateralism for what it considered a successful summit of the future. The reform plan secures the UN's future, challenging governments around the world to dismantle and change international financial and sovereign debt architectures to better serve developing countries. Jody Jacobs, CGTN, New York.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi leads China's delegation this year and will take the podium to represent his country in the general debate session. Xu Dezha is monitoring the action inside the crowded halls of the UN. He joins us with an update. Dezha.
Yes, Elaine, it's here, UN High Level Week. Over 150 world leaders are here for this week's general debate, bilaterals, group gatherings, and high-level meetings. And you can tell from the busy reporters, we have too many things to cover. So to make it simple, I'm just going to talk about 3 Security Council meetings. Yes, this week we had 3 Security Council meetings. There was only one open debate on leadership for peace, and then member states called for a high-level briefing on Ukraine, and France also called an emergency meeting on Lebanon. So the open debate was on Wednesday morning. In his remarks, Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged Council members, especially 5 permanent members of the Security Council, to unite and send a clear message to maintain world peace.
The situations on this Council's agenda are complex and do not have quick fixes. But the scale of the challenge should not deter us. Our only hope for progress on peace is active collaboration and unity among Council members. Today I call on all members to live up to this great responsibility and to the promise of the UN Charter.
Wang Yi, member of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and Foreign Minister of China, urged international communities to uphold international fairness and justice and the equality of all countries, big or small.
为了和平，我们要坚守国际公平正义。
For the sake of peace, we must uphold international fairness and justice. Justice is the common pursuit of mankind. Justice lies in the equality of all countries, big or small. All countries should stand up and not fear any hegemony in power politics. We must practice true multilateralism and firmly safeguard the international order with international law at its core. We must discuss security governance on the premise of mutual respect and build lasting peace on the basis of fairness and justice. We must maintain the authority of the Security Council and support the Security Council as the core role of the collective security mechanism. We must oppose any illegal, unilateral sanctions not authorized by the Security Council.
On Ukraine, the meeting was held on Tuesday afternoon. Ukrainian President Zelensky, U.S. Secretary of State Blinken also participated in the meeting. No wonder Zelensky urged international communities to force Russia making peace. He also urged Global South to participate in the second peace summit of Ukraine. To reply, Russia permanent representative Nebenzia accused Western countries supplying weapons to Ukraine to prolong the conflict. And Wang Yi gave his opinions. He stressed 3 points. We must enhance our sense of crisis to cool down the situation. We must enhance our sense of responsibility to promote peace and dialogue. And we must increase our sense of urgency to control spillovers.
中国不是乌克兰危机的制造者，也不是当事方。
China is not the creator of the Ukrainian crisis, nor is it a party to the crisis. China always stands on the side of peace. We maintain contact with all parties, including Russia and Ukraine, and have persisted in persuading Russia to negotiate and actively carried out shuttle diplomacy. China's efforts have been widely recognized and supported by the international community. China also released China's position on the political solution to the Ukrainian crisis. Afterwards, we jointly issued a 6-point consensus with Brazil, playing a dual role in building consensus among all parties and promoting a political solution to the Ukrainian crisis.
And then the meeting on the latest development in Lebanon. Here is what Secretary General commented on the current situation.
To all sides, let us say in one clear voice, stop the killing and destruction, tone down the rhetoric and threats, step back from the brink. An all-out war must be avoided at all costs. It would surely be an all-out catastrophe. The people of Lebanon, as well as the people of Israel and the people of the world, cannot afford Lebanon to become another Gaza.
Now, Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati flew to New York for this meeting. Here is what he wanted.
Lebanon is not asking for a favor. We demand our legitimate rights under international law. As Lebanese, we have the right to live in safety, our right to protect our national sovereignty, and our right to a future that will keep our children away from the specter of wars and horrors of conflicts. I appeal to your council and to the entire international community and say that it is time to reject violence and wars and to implement international resolutions so that they do not remain a dead letter.
Well, again, this is a huge week that I cannot really cover everything. But these are the highlights of Security Council meetings. And that's all from me. Elaine.
Shudija, thanks. While the United Nations is marking its 79th General Assembly, we here at UN Insider are marking a few milestones of our own. Our cooperation with UN TV and our first year on the air. In that time, we have spoken to many of the people who make global diplomacy work. People like Ambassador Fu Tong, China's permanent representative to the UN.
Congratulations on UN Insider's official debut on UN TV. By providing comprehensive and in-depth coverage of UN news from a Chinese perspective, UN Insider serves as an important window for the global audience to better understand multilateral diplomacy and China's positions. On the occasion of the Summit of the Future and the upcoming 75th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China, such collaboration between CMG and UN TV is surely of special and far-reaching significance. The UN is the most universal, most representative, and most authoritative intergovernmental organization, and is the core of the post-World War II international order. Facing the complex international situation and the mounting global challenges, China firmly believes in the irreplaceable role of the UN, a role that can only be strengthened, not weakened. As a founding member of the UN and a permanent member of the Security Council, China has always been a staunch supporter of and active participant in the UN's work. This week, Foreign Minister Wang Yi is here in New York to attend the Summit of the Future and the general debate of the 79th session of the General Assembly. He has come as the special representative of President Xi Jinping. Minister Wang Yi has attended a large number of meetings and events and has fully elaborated on China's policy and the propositions on the international situation, the global governance, and the major international and regional issues. He also further expounded on the Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, Global Civilization Initiative, and other important visions and initiatives proposed by China. As he noted, China's development is creating new opportunities and momentum for global modernization, thus making greater contribution to world peace and development. Under the new circumstances, China will continue to strengthen exchanges and cooperation with the UN. We will further galvanize international efforts to uphold true multilateralism, make concerted efforts to deal with global challenges, jointly promote global peace, development, and progress, and advance the building of a global community with a shared future.
Coming up.
We have seen a phenomenal example of how technology can be disseminated, how it can become a tool to drive development in so many different spheres.
UN Insider.
Introducing CGTN Now. Find award-winning documentaries and exclusive content from around the world. Latin America like you've never seen. Breakthrough films shining a light on important stories. in-depth discussions with fascinating people, giving you new perspective on topics that matter. You also get live, round-the-clock international news and headlines, and so much more. Original content from CGTN's Global Bureau. Download the CGTN Now app and find the global perspective you've been missing. Available on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Or go to cgtnnow.com on your tablet or mobile device. CGTN Now. See the difference.
The UN General Assembly's High-Level Week is one of the most complex events in the world when it comes to security. 300 members of the UN Security and Safety Service are on duty, along with local and federal law enforcement agencies. An estimated 22,000 people will pass through security checkpoints each day this week, including 3,000 credentialed members of the media. The biggest challenge, safeguarding more than 190 world leaders. Eradicating poverty, reducing inequality, and building resilience are key priorities for the UN Development Program. The agency works to help countries around the globe reach the Sustainable Development Goals. I spoke with UNDP Administrator Akeem Steiner about those efforts. Administrator Steiner, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We just saw the historic Summit of the Future. How is UNDP engaging with young people, and how do you see them shaping the global development agenda?
I think some people might say, is the Summit of the Future document, the pact, so to speak, ambitious enough? I don't think at this moment ambition is necessarily the best yardstick. It's to actually more pragmatically look at, can we still agree on the essential things that we cannot solve on our own, and that through multilateralism, through the United Nations, countries can actually agree to cooperate on. Part of the outcome of the summit is a digital global compact. The first time that the world has really turned to the United Nations, said we need this platform in order to be able to advance on both the opportunities and possibilities, but also to manage the risks. And I think this is very significant.
The Secretary General called for more effective and inclusive multilateralism, bringing it back from the brink. What happened to multilateralism, and what did he mean by that statement?
We have seen in recent years an extraordinary amount of conflict reemerge, polarization in international relations, geopolitical tensions, COVID, financial crisis, and we are working in 170 countries at this moment, trying to help countries to cope with these extraordinary challenges, whether they are sometimes climate change-driven extreme weather events, whether it is the high level of debt through the interest rates and the inflation, so to speak, that has driven the cost of capital, leading in some countries literally to a default situation. All this is taking us backwards in development terms, and our role as UNDP, but also the larger United Nations, is to help countries to quickly course correct, find ways in which together we can invest in a way forward, and also to leverage new opportunities.
How is UNDP trying to ramp up the last 5 years to meet and reach those 2030 goals?
First of all, every country has its unique circumstances, challenges, and opportunities. I give you one example. In 1995, only 15, 16 million people had access to the internet. That's only about 29 years ago. Fast forward to today and perhaps to next year, 6 billion people will have access to internet and broadband. And that is more people than were alive in 1995 on planet Earth. So we have seen a phenomenal example of how technology can be disseminated, how it can become a tool to drive development in so many different spheres. Life expectancy has improved. We've seen through COVID also a remarkable set of rapid policy responses, social safety nets, temporary basic incomes, trying to create a health system that could withstand this onslaught that so many countries had to live through. We have learned a lot of lessons.
I know financing has been the main issue the last couple of years. So going just ahead to COP29, just around the corner, can you tell us a little bit about the Climate Promise 25?
We are still far behind where science tells us we need to be. And, the remarkable thing is the world, in terms of daily reality, is already showing us the extraordinary price we will pay for not acting. we need to act faster. And this is why it is so important that countries arrive at COP30 with the confidence that they can implement, and with also a level of ambition where they say, and with additional financing from our partners, we can achieve even more. And that remains the challenge over the next, 14 months.
Given China's growing influence as a development partner, how does UNDP collaborate with China to advance sustainable development goals?
Well, UNDP and China will this coming year celebrate their 45th anniversary of a partnership that I think has been remarkable in so many ways. When China first opened up, it invited UNDP as one of the first international partners to join in its rethinking of development pathways, choices, trajectories, strategies. I think over 4 decades later, this partnership has delivered many remarkable outcomes, successes, and increasingly also a joint way of learning and creating. We draw very often today on China's approaches to addressing issues of poverty eradication, green transitions, in ways that inform also our work in many other parts of the world. Because at the end of the day, UNDP, with its programs in 170 countries, is a connector. It's a connector of best practice, of technologies, and also of policies that work.
Administrator Akim Steiner, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
UN Insider.
Holding guns. Word protesters.
Were you worried about your life at that particular time? Not at all.
Excellency, thank you very much for your time. What is your assessment of the state of the continent today?
Africa has the potential to power itself.
Excuse me.
Inclusive economic growth is a core part of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. China has partnered with developing countries throughout the world. We spoke with representatives from some Latin American nations about how trade with China has impacted their homelands.
We signed 10 years ago a free trade agreement which has enabled Peru not only to double or triple or make 5 times bigger, so almost 10 times. We are right now, we have a commercial relationship of $30 billion, which may not very much mean to China, but for Peru is very important. China is our #1 trading partner. But it is not only that. China is a very big investor, not the biggest one, but a very big investor in Peru. And we have so many opportunities to invest in infrastructure. For example, infrastructure. We have what we call a gap, infrastructure gap of over $150 billion. And these are, of course, problematic for those communities that, for example, don't have electricity or don't have a decent road. I can say yes to that. But these are also big opportunities for companies interested in developing this infrastructure, which lacks that particular community.
We have agreed this early harvest agreement with China, in fact, and this provides great possibilities for our products and producers, but also for China. I think it's a mutual cooperation agreement that brings a lot of opportunities for our countries. For Honduras, it contains the access to the Chinese market of seafood products, for example, the shrimp industries that are very important for Honduras. So I think it is a way to that show how we can deal with cooperate in some issues before signing a free trade agreement. So I think it's very important for both countries.
Right now, I think that we've seen all the progress since May 1st till this date. We've seen the increase in the exports and increase in the imports. We have a lot of excitement in terms of what else can you bring into Ecuador's market from China, like innovative products or technology or beauty products. So because we are more like agricultural based products rather than more technology or innovative products. So I think that's a door for new Chinese products to come into Ecuador's market. But in terms of growth, what we've seen is that between May and July of 2024, we had a really good export balance with China, and we grew more than $60 million in terms of our exports. So that's good for our products that try to have a really good position in Chinese markets.
I'm Elaine Reyes at UN headquarters in New York. Thanks for being a UN Insider. I'm Elaine Reyes at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is UN Insider.
UN Insider serves as an important window for the global audience to better understand multilateral diplomacy.
And having programs such as UN Insider is another way in which, on the one hand, we can tell the stories, the narratives that explain what it is that is being done, or perhaps not being done, but to do so also through the individuals who are the people who make up the United Nations.
The media is crucial to our work. It is a job of the media as well to hold us to account, to ask difficult questions about how well we are doing our work. So I see this two-way relationship with the media as fundamentally important to the work that we do and the impact that we can have on people's lives.
The stories must continue to be told because it's not about a single story. I've seen the outreach that you have as CGTN, and it's so important that you have that wide outreach. And equally is the role of the media in reflecting back to our communities.
We need the mobilization of all peoples, of whole government and whole of society, and media can help us to be informed so that we also can make our part.
I think the media is fundamental to enable citizens across the world, first of all, to understand what is the rationale of having the United Nations. It's not that there is one place on planet Earth that will tell the rest of the world what to do. It is a much more complex story.